All right, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it's time for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. This is episode 597. We're going to be talking to the one and only Rachel K. Winter in just a moment because this is the Chats edition of the podcast where we have an interview with a poker luminary. This is one of the most fun things I do all week. My second highlight of the week is hosting the forums edition of the podcast, where we just talk strategy. So subscribe to the show if you haven't already. There's a lot of great stuff coming your way. My name's Jim Reed. I'm your host, Bluffsterini in the home game and at Rec Poker Jim on the hellscape that we call Twitter. And I have the best freaking job in the world, talking poker with my friends here on the Rec Poker Podcast every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on YouTube. You can join us for free every week and win a prize just for showing up. Now we're going to talk to Rachel in just a second. I have to thank our sponsors first, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. They are the official sponsor of the Rec Poker Podcast. And it's important to mention them because most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we really depend on the support of our sponsors and our premium members. We've got two new premium members to welcome to the group today, Anne Marie Cruz and Kyle Kruger. So thank you both for getting involved and for chipping in. Your $15 a month makes a huge difference to what we do here at Rec Poker. And if other folks, listen, you can always join for free. We've got over 1,500 members worldwide, just chatting in the forums, watching free videos, hanging out together on road trips. All it takes to join for free is an email address and a smile, although we do insist on both. But if you want to take your game to the next level, I encourage you to join over 100 enthusiastic recreational poker players by becoming a premium member here at Rec Poker. And you can always get your first month of premium membership for $5 just by using the code RecPoker at checkout. Okay, now I gotta say, I'm bummed because we are not having our Running Aces, our Rec Poker weekend at Running Aces in August. I'm just mentioning this at the top of the show because they had to cancel a bunch of promotional stuff for some renovations. But we're going to do some more cool stuff with them later in the year, so hold on for that. I should also mention that on Sundays, for the next few weeks, we're having the World Series of Rec Poker, a really fun series of online tournaments on Poker Now that are free to play, but there are real prizes. So you can find out more about that by going to rec.poker/WSORP. And the last thing I'm going to bump before I introduce the rest of the Wrecking Crew is that it's also the World Series of Poker going on right now. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I'm going to be heading down there from June 22nd to about July 12th. And pretty much every morning, I'll be having breakfast in the Horseshoe Basement food court because I'm a thrifty fella and they have a decently priced breakfast sandwich there. And I encourage anyone, if you want to hang out and talk poker and prep for the tournament ahead, come meet up with me and chat poker over a breakfast sandwich and a reasonably priced cup of coffee. You never know what kind of fun come up there. So I'll be there most mornings. Come check it out. All right, now. But that's enough about me. You get used to hearing my voice on Mondays because they let me host the show, but I am just a small cog in the Rec Poker machine. I am just one of the wizards that we have on our Wrecking Crew, which is what we call our leadership panel here. And if you want to find out more about me or other members of the Wrecking Crew, you can just go to rec.poker/crew or just listen up. You're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the show, starting with none other than our producing co-host, Chris Jones.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the Poker Stars home game. And I help run our monthly deep dive strategy segment.
And I'm Joe Coolis. You can find me at Joe Cool PhD, cool with a K. I run the PsyOps workshop every third Thursday of the month. And I need to be on my best behavior this particular week because if I offend Ms. Winter, then her husband will not participate in my presentation come Thursday. So I will try to be good when I'm here.
And I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN, and I am not sure that I am capable of being good. Oh, and I run the home games.
And John, you've got some exciting news, don't you, about the home games?
Oh, yeah, I was going to wait till later, but I'll tell everyone right now that we are going to be starting up nightly home games. That means every night again, starting on August 1st. So we will have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night games, which we do not have right now.
Yes, I'm so excited about that. So John runs our home game program. And over the last year, he's been moving and had a bunch of projects that he was working on. So we had to break it down. We were only doing 7 or 8 home games a week, John, you slacker. But I'm happy to announce that, yeah, we're going back to every single night, plus the mixed practice game, plus the Saturday afternoon international series. So you're back to our regular, normal every single day, 10 or 11 home games every week. Someone buy this John Somsky character a beer. He definitely has earned it. All right,
Hopefully
sorry.
everyone will
Are you
enjoy
ready?
playing.
Yeah, jump in, Kim. Sorry.
I'm Kim Kilroy. I'm PetBet33 on social media. I'm Fergie56 in the home game, and I run a hand history review on the second Wednesday of the month.
And I'm Rob Washam. You can find me as Rabman50 just about everywhere. And on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, you can join us as we study the latest poker books. And for those of you watching live this week, we're going to be going into section 2 of Excelling at No Limit Poker with a chapter by Alex Fitzgerald.
I know that's one of your faves, Rob. Congratulations. So yeah, as you can see, folks, there's a lot going on here at Rec Poker. So come get involved. Come join up. Now, but you're really here to talk to Rachel K. Winter. We all know what's going on. So Rachel, first of all, just thanks for coming on the show. I'm excited to finally get you. We got her, folks.
Yes,
we got her.
thank you for having me.
Well, you're such a fun character. We've met several times at Run Good events and WSOP and that kind of thing. You're an award-winning poker photographer. You're a traveling pro. Don't let me put words in your mouth, though. I like to sort of let our guests put themselves in a box. How would you define your own role in the poker world today? If folks don't know, who's this Rachel K. Winter?
That's pretty accurate. I like to consider myself just kind of a fly on the wall in the poker industry. I do a lot of traveling, a lot with the Run Good Poker series, especially 8131 Media, which puts me behind the lens for World Series of Poker circuit events. I've also done a couple of events with WPT, including the World Championship. This is my 4th year working for Poker News for the World Series of Poker in Vegas, which is wonderful. It is the place to be. So I kind of have my hands in a lot of cookie jars throughout the poker industry, but I love it. I love traveling. I love meeting different people. I feel like all the series have, their regulars and their, people like in media or on the other side of the felt. And it's great to get to meet all of those people as well as the players who may stick to one series or another. So I feel like I kind of get the best of all the series, I guess.
That's great. Oh, I love it. And I think, poker is such an interesting industry. There's all these people like yourselves that are professionals not in poker, but you are in the poker industry now. And I kind of love that. Like, we get to just collect all these people that are so great at all these different things. And what we have in common is this relationship with poker. Let's talk about that a little bit just to get us started. So what's your relationship to poker?
I consider myself a strictly recreational poker player. I didn't know anything about poker when I met Brian. At the time when we met and started seeing each other, he was already playing professionally and playing online. And then during COVID quarantine, there wasn't a whole lot to do. I was teaching preschool at the time, and my school shut down, and I had many weeks off. What was 1 week turned into 8 weeks very quickly. So I didn't have a lot to do, and I decided maybe I would like playing poker. So I started playing online just with, play money or like the 25-cent free bet that you get every day on some poker sites. So I remember the first time I ever played a sit and go for real money, it was 25 cents. And Brian, of course, I've seen him play 15 tables at a time. So I'm like, oh, easy. And I'm like trying to think about like how to bet. And I remember I was panicking. Someone jammed and I had like a really good hand. And I was like, oh, what do I do? And like the clock is just ticking down and I'm just getting more. It's 25 cents. The clock is ticking down and I'm like having a panic attack. He's like, I can't tell you what to do. And I was like, okay. So I folded. And he was like, it's not a fold. And I was like, why didn't you say that?
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah, so it started out a little stressful, but very recreational. I play still micro stakes online. I still play a lot of fake money poker online. It's very relaxing for me. I feel that I'm around it all the time and I want to play it because I see it so much. So playing fake money poker is a really good way for me to get that experience, but in a very low stress way.
Right.
Yeah, so I still love that. And I do play live occasionally. I'll play some South Point nightlies when I'm in Vegas or some like low stakes here and there,
That's great. And
like
so, and if folks
200,
don't,
300.
yeah, those are still pretty high stakes for some of our
Well,
audience members.
well, for
Yeah.
for live, compared to what I'm around a lot, I see
Good
people
point.
playing, just hundreds of bullets in these things, and I played the absolute cheapest thing, and I plan weeks in advance for it.
Nice.
It's like a treat for myself when I do play this.
That's great. So if folks don't know, the Brian that Rachel's referring to is previous guest of the show, Brian Winter, who has, I think, locked up the Run Good Player of the Season award not too
Yes.
long ago.
It is over. He won.
Yeah, he locked it up, and I think you were involved in a pretty cool like surprise video, I think, with some of his friends. Talk a little bit about sort of that, watching him have this kind of ascent this year, what that was like.
Yeah. Well, from the moment they announced it, he was like, I'm gonna do that. He was like, I'm gonna chase that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was traveling to a lot of Run Good and he was already going with me. So the first couple stops, I went to and he also went. And I knew he was taking it seriously, but the moment I knew he was taking it very seriously, I took a job in Amsterdam for WPT. And they said, well, you can bring someone along, no problem. And I was like, we're going to Amsterdam. And he's like, I'm not going to Amsterdam. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, that's Run Good at Best Bet. He's like, I'm not going to not go. So I ended up taking my mother-in-law. I took his mom to Amsterdam because she's a flight attendant for United. So, it was pretty simple for her to get down there. But he really didn't go to Amsterdam. So he was very committed to his player of the year kind of grind, I would say. And I was like, this is going to be such a bad beat if he doesn't go to Amsterdam, spends all this money, goes down to Jacksonville, where he had previously not had results that he was happy with, and just gets wrecked. It's not going to be a good time for him, if that happens. But thankfully, he went down there and actually won a tournament that week. He won, I guess, $660 six max tournament. And I was super asleep in Amsterdam and had no Wi-Fi in my room. So I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, he won. This is great.
That's awesome.
It's a little known fact that Jacksonville is the Amsterdam of Florida. So
I've heard that. Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely, Brian's definitely a very committed player. And I'm glad that even in your 25-cent free roll, he was like one player per hand. I'm not weighing in on your action here. Great shout out. And you got to take some photos of him in the winner's circle as well, I think. Isn't that right? Over the course of the last little while. That's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, it is.
Were you engaged at that point, or what was the timing of that?
Well, the first stop I ever worked for Run Good, the very first stop, he won the first tournament. Just like opening night, bounty night, he won it. He had actually previously won that tournament, but it was a time when I didn't go with him because I was sick at the time. So I skipped that trip and he went along. So yeah, very first tournament I ever worked for Run Good, he won, and I was like, this is crazy. And then I shot a lot of winners before he won again. But last year, I got to take 5 of his 6 winners photos. That 6th one, I was not in Jacksonville. And my good friend Matthew, who also works for 8131, took that photo.
That's very cool. And that's enough about Brian. I just thought that was super fun.
No, that's
a way to bring it up right off the bat.
It's okay. I like him too. I'm not offended that you asked about him.
You are partial to him. All right, I'll just remind our YouTube audience, if you've got any questions for Rachel, please type them into the YouTube chat. We're also going to be looking for some names for people to play Stake Study Stack with Rachel later. So start throwing some famous poker players' names into the YouTube chat. We'll use that. And also, if you're new to the show, we're going to be doing a raffle at the end. So we're going to give away a prize to support a local food bank. And if you just stick around till the end of the interview, you'll get a chance to win a prize there. And another great thing you can do if you're one of those fancy, shiny people that can make donations through YouTube, we recently hit 1,000 subscribers. And so if you want to support the show, please make a super chat or a super comment and donate some dough. That way we share a portion of all of our donations through YouTube with a local food bank as well. So get involved in the YouTube, folks. It's going to be a fun one tonight. So you obviously were a photographer before you were a poker player. Well, maybe not. I'm sort of seeing you back and forth on that a little. So talk to a little bit about like how you approached both of these fascinating fields.
Yeah, so learning to play poker and also taking a photography class were both quarantine projects. So I had not done photography previously. I went to that was 2020 when COVID kind of hit. It was 2019 I actually graduated with my master's in opera performance.
No kidding.
So I do, yeah, my bachelor's and master's are in opera, which is not relevant to anything that I'm doing now. I do still sing occasionally. There are 2 opera companies here in Vegas that I occasionally perform with when I'm here, and it is very much become a recreational activity for me, but it did start as what I wanted to do for a career. But it's a hard career. It's very hard. It's very competitive, and I just didn't have I love it so much, but I didn't have like what I really needed to go do that for a career. So I was still, whenever we moved to Vegas, I was teaching voice lessons and performing still, and teaching piano lessons. I had about 23 students at one point, which is a lot of voice
amazing.
students that I would teach weekly here in Vegas, some online and most in person. And then I decided that I wanted to find some skill. And Brian had an old camera and I found it when we were moving, and I was like, do you mind if I play around with this? And he was like, oh no, that's fine. Like, it's just sitting in a drawer. And I really enjoyed it. So I took a online photography class. It was like $20 or something. But I was very meticulous. I was like, I have to do every assignment. I have to do all of these things. And I just really enjoyed it. And it kind of, I felt like I got decent at it pretty quickly. So then I started posting on our neighborhood Facebook group, and I was like, who wants some free family photos? And I was starting to do portraits and starting to do headshots and things like that for just people in the neighborhood. And it was very much like a right place, right time kind of thing, getting into poker photography specifically. I'm not sure if any of you know Danny Maxwell. He's a really great photographer. He's from Ireland. He took that really great photo of the main event bubble last year that I know circulated quite a bit. But he was getting married in 2020 when they had the fall series. So his wedding was already scheduled, and he was like, well, I have to leave 2 weeks early. Like, my wedding is then. So they needed someone to fill in because he was leaving right before the main event. And I was already living in Vegas at the time, and I was already doing photography. And I had some friends who did poker through Brian and through our roommates, who had reached out to Haley, who was already the lead of the photo team. And they said, Rachel's here. She knows poker. She's doing photography if you ever need anyone. And just a couple months later, she found out she did need someone for just 2 weeks. And she called me one day and she said, I know it's only 2 weeks, but we could really use the extra hands. Are you willing to do this? And I said, sure. I had never photographed poker before. So then I went out to the Run Good stop in San Diego to meet her. I had never even met her in person. I had already said, yes, I'll do this. And I took my camera and I shot alongside the Run Good photographer that they had there at the time, Joe Garrett. And I was like, I guess, like, let me give it a shot. And I did the 2 weeks at the series, and apparently went pretty well. And then the next year they had an opening for a full spot and they asked me if I was interested. And I was like, I'm very interested. And then it all kind of snowballed from there.
That's phenomenal. So like so many
Yeah.
places we can take this. So first of all, my wife, Mrs. Bluffsterini, also worked for a opera company for years, actually, before.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's so fun.
before she started her passion, which is working with horses full time.
Oh,
so,
very cool.
And I maybe if folks, if you're trying to find a job in an industry, maybe start in opera. Because apparently it's got a great, it gets the mind going, gets you thinking about like what do you really want to do, and it opens a lot of doors for you apparently. So that's very exciting. Talk a little bit about how great Haley and the media group over there is, and like how because I've been to a few of these Run Good events now. You and I have hung out at some of them. It is such a cool scene. You were so
Yeah.
sweet and kind to take some photos of some of us rec poker folks at, I think it was the Baltimore event. That was so
yeah.
cool. That was super cool. Just talk a little bit about kind of like what that experience has been like and what you enjoy about that.
Yeah, Run Good is a very unique series. And not only I think it really appeals to a lot of recreational players and a lot of people who just want to do it for fun, play a couple tournaments. A lot of it is because of the price point. The fact that they still award, rings, and they've got all sorts of other, promotions and things running all the time. But the biggest thing for me, and I think most people who have been there, especially if people have been there on opening night, they get that sense of kind of community. You get like the same people coming to these stops, whether it's ambassadors that come to 4 or 5 stops a year, or the players that travel around with the whole series. So when you arrive at one of these, it's not like you're sitting down at a table with 8 people you don't know. You just instantly feel like you know the people there, and like kind of the vibe, and it's really upbeat and it's really playful. The floors are very willing to talk and chat with the players. Like, of course they still run the tournaments very smoothly. They're a well-oiled machine, but even the floors, I feel like the floors and the staff want to interact with the players. They want to get to know who's coming to this event. And it's been really great. I couldn't imagine a better series to start working with than Run Good. And even all the players who knew the other photographers who had worked there before, they were like, welcome, welcome. Like they were, like they were running the show, like these players. They were like, thank you for joining us. And I'm like, they're working,
Yeah.
And I think that's really indicative of how much the players even feel like just part of a unit, part of a family with Run Good.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it is, they have they really prioritize sort of that fun player experience, and the people that the Run Good regulars are a really fun crowd. So yeah, I'd encourage folks to check out. I think they released a new schedule relatively recently. Checked out. They have a ton of fun stuff going on over there. Every time I think about Run Good, I think about two of the floor guys who are both bald with huge beards. I refer to them as a pair as a ZZ Flop. I bumped into one of them in Ireland actually, because they get around. It's a great crowd that they've got there. I will say it's not just the players, the staff are good too.
They're here too. Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I hope we get a chance to hook up again. I'm looking forward to my next Run Good event. So
it was actually the very last stop of this year. I've been working for Run Good for a year and a half now. The very last stop, I looked at Zach and I said, well, where did Marshall go? And he goes, well, I thought I was talking to Zach. And he said, I'm Marshall. And I was like, right. I've been working for them for a year and a half, and I still occasionally get them mixed up, and they're always very nice to me about it.
That's amazing. Such a fun group. All right, well, I'll just remind our YouTube chat again, get some questions there. I see we've got some folks entering some names for Stake Study Stack, so don't be shy. So Rachel, what qualities make for a good poker photo? How do you know when you've taken a good poker photo?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think one thing that a lot of the poker photographers would agree on is that sometimes it feels like it's a lot more about quantity. We're trying to get as many players as we can, especially when we're working for a news outlet. We just want to make sure we document that player was there. There are a couple things that I think make a poker photo really stand out. Personally, is as long as we're talking about like in-game photos. Anytime someone is giving like a good stare down, like their eyes are up, they're like looking at someone. I feel like those can be really dynamic photos, especially when you get like there are some really good stare down players like Stephen Chidwick or Ivy Chance, Alex Foxen. Like whenever they're on my list, I will wait until they have a hand. I will sit there for 10 minutes and wait for them to give a stare down because they're going to when they're in a hand. So I just have to be patient. But that's always fun, and especially Stephen Chidwick. If you guys watch him play, just watch his eyes. There have been times where I've been editing a photo of him and I'm just like, I don't like this is intense. I'm very uncomfortable. I couldn't imagine being against him in a hand when he's giving a stare down like that. But yeah, catching someone, I like to try to catch people when they don't know that I'm there. Like if they're, cutting it up with their like table mates, things like that.
Yeah.
I got one of Phil yesterday, Phil Hellmuth, that he had posted on his Twitter. And he's just laughing in the photo, but it's always fun when someone posts a photo like that and I know the joke that he was laughing at. So the person next to him, anytime I see like a player that I know that I want a photo of talking to someone, I will just be on standby because you never know what's going to come up and you'll get really good expression a lot of time. But his neighbor said something about a woohoo girl, and Phil said he walked right into it. He said, "Well, what's a woohoo girl?" And the guy said, the ones that go up and down the strip on the party buses going woohoo. So when you see that photo of Phil laughing, you'll know he was laughing at the woohoo girls. So
there you go. And that's the kind of insider information that you only get from being, right there on the floor. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. Chris Jones, you unmuted. What's up?
Well, I want to talk about kind of iconic photos too. First of all, congratulations. You won this year. You won the GPI Photo of the Year.
Yes.
And that's not really one where they don't know they're being photographed. That was obviously one where you're subject. I mean, the kind of the winner's photo. But I think that's one of like the most iconic photos of that I've seen in the last few years. It's just like, I mean, we're talking about the Nick Schulman winner's photo. The only other one that comes to mind is the Dario Sammartino photo that we're flipping the cards in the tux or whatever. Yeah. Those are the two that stick in my mind of like just iconic poker photos in the last few years. But I want to just ask about that photo itself. Was that sort of like, when somebody's a winner, it's a big moment for them, whether they're, longtime pro or a first time winner, like how does that go? How do you start working with somebody who's sort of in that sort of like state and they're like, maybe they're thinking about a lot of things, a lot of their friends are talking to them, they're really maybe excited, and I don't know, are people thinking about the photo? Do they have ideas? Do you have ideas? How does that work?
Yeah, so they usually don't. Especially at the series specifically, most players won't ask me to do a certain pose or anything like that because they are very overwhelmed. There's especially first-time bracelet winners, young bracelet winners. So in general, I'm not sure, I'm not speaking for other photographers, but for me personally, when I'm watching a heads up or like a three-handed and I'm looking at the rail and I'm looking at the player, I usually can get some sort of idea of what they're going to be willing to do with a winner's photo. And a lot of times, even if I don't think that they'll be interested in doing like a fun photo, I ask like, do you want to do something different? Do you want to do something fun? If I feel like maybe they're interested. So with the Schulman photo specifically, first of all, he's a character. Everyone knows he's a character. He's very well known in the poker industry, but and I wasn't sure if he would be willing to take that photo. I had that from the time they were four-handed. I had this photo planned out, and I actually told my manager that was there that night. I was like, I have an idea, and I was like, if Schulman comes back to win this, I don't know how he will. He only has 4 like big bets or whatever it was. I don't really know stuff. Don't quote me on big bets. I don't know what they're called. Sure. But I was like, if he manages to come back and win, and I like sat down at a table, I was like, I'm going to have him put his feet up and grab his cigar and put his sunglasses on. And he was like, okay. And then he did come back to win, and we were all really surprised. And I was like, okay, like, you know, he's a little bit more chill when he wins. He's not as, you know, out of it or, you know, I don't want to say confused, but sometimes they are just in such shock when they win that they're like, oh gosh, they forget how to like hold things. You know, and I'm like, sit on the chair. And they're like, the chair? What's the chair? You know, but he's a little bit more used to winning. So I was like, okay, I have this idea. Let me know if you're interested. And he was very much like, whatever you want to do. Like, if you want to do it, let's do it. So he already had his cigar and his cool shoes and his sunglasses and everything with him. So I kind of like set him up, and he was like, oh yeah, cool, take it. So it looks like it was a very calculated thing on his end, but he was very much just like playing with me in that space and letting me take the photo. And then I didn't expect it to be that well received. I was a little surprised. WSOP posted the photo, and then I went to sleep, and I woke up to a lot of messages and a lot of tags and a lot of edited photos on Farrah Galfon's page, and like Poker.org posted it, and Poker News, and it was kind of an unreal, because I do not wake up well. I was very confused in that moment. But when someone had actually asked Nick Schulman about it, like in a video. They posted this video on Instagram, and they were like, what do you think about, being in one of the most iconic winner photos? And he was like, I don't know. She just told me to do it, and I did it. And it was like so cool. Like this is the biggest day of my career, and he was so cool about it. So
it must be even more like exciting that you really engineered that photo, like for it to be the one that was chosen for the award. Like that's really your photo in a way that a lot of these other candid ones aren't. Is that true?
Yeah, it felt really good to know that was like kind of my idea, and that it was well received, because I've certainly taken many photos that I posed that are just kind of like cool photo, and I think I could take the same exact photo with 99% of people, and it wouldn't be that well received. But because he's such a character in the industry, I think it just came across very well. Yeah, I kind of got lucky in that regard. But if it weren't him, I probably wouldn't have taken the photo.
Yeah, good point. Joe Koulis, jump in.
Yeah, so your husband is kind of known for having, unpopular takes when he kind of sets things up on Twitter. So I'm going to go with an unpopular take here. It said that picture actually isn't my favorite of the ones that you've done.
Yeah. Oh, of mine.
Of your work, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, so looking in your work, I actually find the ones that you catch that are more candid. It's surprising to me how often you can catch people in very warm moments, right? It's a transactional game, and yet you're walking around getting people who are sometimes some of the grumpiest people on the face of the planet when they're there to be warm and kind of show some better aspect. Like the Caitlin Arnwine picture is fantastic. I mean, it just the joy that she is experiencing while she's playing is really drawn by that photograph. So how do you get that in what can be kind of a cranky room, given all the stressors and the transactional nature of the game? How do you accomplish that?
Yeah, a lot of those moments, I will say, are kind of early in tournaments. People tend to be a little bit more relaxed in the first couple levels. So whenever I'm trying to get something like that, I will say there is an advantage in earlier levels when people are not yet like very, very focused on pay jumps and all of these ICM implications and all of those things. But the biggest thing is just when I walk around a room, my ears are open. I'm listening to what's going on in the room. Even if, like that photo of Caitlin, even if I wasn't intending on getting her photo, if I'm halfway across the room, but I hear someone laughing or talking, or I hear something exciting going on, whether it's good or bad, maybe I want to move my attention to that side, because I can always come back. That's the best thing about poker photography compared to like wedding photography or something. I can shift what I'm doing and come back, because that person's going to be sitting there for 8 hours. Like, they're not going anywhere. I could come right back to them. They're going to get another hand in 2 minutes. So just trying to be aware of what's going on. And like I said earlier to Jim, just being patient. If I have the time, and I know, I want to get a photo of Jim, I know Jim's a talkative person. I know if I wait for 10 minutes, he's gonna be laughing with someone. So just kind of being patient and being ready for that moment. But the biggest thing in the room is just being aware of what's going on around me, and if there's a huge pot brewing one table away and the dealer at the table I'm trying to work with right now is washing the deck, well, maybe I'll step away and come back in a few seconds.
Well, I'm not going to turn down a segue like that. So Rachel, I got the chance to pose with some other Wrecking Crew members, Kim and Stewie and Jennifer and
Yeah.
Denise all got out there. And I will just say, if you're watching this at home, Rachel is so good to work with. She just tell me which way to face and what to do with my arms and like where the light is. And you took some really phenomenal photos that made me and the Wrecking Crew members sort of just like feel like gangsters, kind of. I think a lot of us have them now as our avatars on like social media and stuff like that. It's extremely cool. So Scott, in our YouTube chat here, Scott Lum, who you're going to be hearing more about over the next few weeks. Actually, Scott's a fantastic guy and a very active member here at Rec Poker that I can't wait to share some more details with our audience about soon. He says, for every Rec player, getting your photo taken at a poker event is the best souvenir. And I think that's really true. Like, you're actually in a very powerful position, Rachel, because especially in the modern world where we're not paying to develop film and pick it up 2 weeks later, like the fact that you can just go for free and instantly, like Poker Org's doing their gallery and other, places like Fox Wallace does a bunch of World Series photography as well. For a recreational player, we don't play a lot of big events. We don't play a lot of events with professional photographers. And it's, there's that shot of at the table with the chips in front of you, like you say, giving someone a stare or whatever it is. It's a very special thing. Do you hear from players? Like, do you get feedback from players about how much they've enjoyed that?
Yes, that is especially with some of like the Midwestern stops, the people who don't make it out to the big tournaments as much. We get a lot of feedback of exactly that. Just people saying, my son doesn't get to see me play because he can't come into the casino. He loves seeing the pictures. My wife's at home in Michigan. She loves seeing the pictures. We get a lot of that kind of thing. And for me, and I've said this before, on my Twitter, and I say this quite often, but the biggest compliment for me is when I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see like the people you may know, and it's photos that I've taken as people's profile picture, or when I'm scrolling through Twitter, like Robin Poker, who was on Game of Gold.
Right,
I took a photo of him at WPT and he like made it his profile picture. and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, that's mine. And that one of Phil Hellmuth changed his profile picture after years, and it's my photo. And it's just like, wow, like, I don't even know if they know that I took it, but I know that I took it. So we're going to call that a win. That feels really good.
For sure. Yeah.
I think
please continue.
Oh yeah. One thing that's really changed, you're talking about like in this digital age where you don't necessarily have like printed photos. When I do like these smaller tournament series, smaller, couple 100-person fields, instead of the series where it's like 15,000 people in an event, we can't get everyone at the World Series. But at Run Good, especially, or, like size tournaments, WSOP circuit, some of the smaller stops, over the course of 10 days, we probably do get most people. So if you come out there on day 7 and I haven't seen you out there, I'm going to get your picture because I know that I haven't photographed you yet. So I feel like when we are ready and when we are taking photos at those series, we're really able to get a lot of people, and a lot of people use them for Hendon Mob. A lot of people get like their first cashes at some series like that, and now not only do they get a cash on their Hendon Mob, but they have a photo to go with it. They're not just a gray silhouette; they're an actual player in the event. So for me, I love when people use it on Hand and Mob. I love when people use my photos as profile pictures. That's a big compliment for me.
And if folks, I know Chris has a question too, but if folks are at an event like this, is there like an etiquette or a protocol for like asking a photographer if they'll take a photo, or is there like a bad time to do it or a good time, or is it depend on the photographer? How do we figure that out?
I don't think this is super photographer dependent. I think if you want a photo, you should tell the photographer you want a photo. If you see them bopping around, we're happy to get it. We're happy to get people in their first tournaments. We're happy to get people pictures for Hand and Mob, things like that. I can't imagine there is a bad time, except for maybe if we're taking a winner's photo. Right. Maybe probably not the best time to be like, oh, can you get my photo? We'll say yes and come back to you, but right. Maybe that's the only bad time. Yeah. But in general, and I know Poker.org has their requests now. They've put together an online link where if you are in an event that they have photographers covering, you can go on and drop your table and seat number and they'll come around, which is a pretty new idea and really great, and people love it. Because if you don't feel comfortable flagging down a photographer saying, get my photo in front of 8 other people at your table, then maybe you do feel comfortable pulling out your phone and saying, hey, I'm here. I would love a photo. Please come get it. And it has the same results. So,
no, and so folks, do it. Like you don't appreciate how cool it is to get a really well taken poker photo. Like, who knows how many chances you're going to get to play in an event like this with this kind of staff and the kind of caliber of photographers. Just ask. Just like with so many other things in our life that we're not doing, we're not asked. Like, if there's something, just ask. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? All right, Chris Jones, sorry, you unmuted again. What's on your mind?
Yeah, we got a question from YouTube. First of all, YouTube is really reacting to this. Stewie saying she made me look younger. LOL. So some of the appreciation there. A lot of appreciation. But Scott had a question. It kind of feeds into one that I might expand on, where he asks, do you need to edit all your photos before posting? How many photos do you shoot in a day? But maybe you could just kind of walk us through not just the act of taking the photos, but what goes into a full day of poker shooting, and like what are the unseen aspects of it that people don't see you doing that are kind of like part of your day as a photographer in the poker world?
Yeah, probably the biggest is time management. There are a lot of tournaments going on. There are a lot of start times, end times, breaks. I cannot tell you how many times I've walked into a room like, I'm ready to go, ready to take a picture. And then I take like 3 pictures. Then I hear the floor and they're like, dealers, at the completion of this hand, send your players on a 15-minute break. And I'm like, dang it. Time management's a big one. But as far as the act of taking photos, we're usually trying to take them in batches that are big enough to warrant a whole walk around the tournament, but not so big that it takes so long to get them uploaded, because we are unlike other photographers in that we do everything on site that day, quick turnaround. For example, for the World Series, we try to get photos turned around in 45 minutes for field photos, and a little faster for winners photos. So that is taking the photos, importing them into your computer, going through, deciding which ones you're keeping. They're not all gems, I promise you. We have some very aggressive gum chewers at these poker tables. Not all of the photos turn out great. So deciding which ones to keep, labeling them with the player's information, their first and last name. And then we do edit them. We are taking if you are in media or photography, we are taking raw files. So we are completely editing them to the highest resolution that we can. We all do that a little bit differently. We all have different workflows, and then exporting them in 2 different kinds of files and then uploading them to 2 different places usually. So it's a little bit of a process, but when you do the process 10 times a day, you get really fast at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing turnaround. That's crazy. I'm sort of just breaking out into hives, just thinking about having to label all those, let alone all the other work
that can be tricky,
doing, right? Are you like taking notes while you're going? Like, how do you know how to spell people's names or whatever? Like, how does that work? That seems like a logistical nightmare.
It really depends on what event you're doing. So for example, for Run Good, which I keep referring to because I've just done so much work for them. For Run Good, when I take photos in a field, I don't have to label all of the names unless it's being reported on. Like for the main event, we do label names. So a lot of times for a stop like that, I will get the seat draw report from the floor so I can label, and I just I circle on my list who I've photographed, and I'll make notes off to the side. It'll be like circle, Jim, yellow, polo, to kind of like keep track if they're players that I don't know very well.
Yep.
In larger series, we generally have reporters who are requesting photos of certain players. So we'll get some other photos of players we know, we recognize, but usually they'll send me a list of, 10 or 15 names with a table and seat number. When you have a whole team, they send it to the whole team, and then who's ever available will say, oh, I'll go get that. So then we do have it. We just have to make sure that's who's actually in the seat, because they get moved around. They get moved around a lot. So the hardest time I've had was the one stop that I did in Europe, because their names don't come as naturally to me, the spelling. So I'll say, oh, what's your name? And they tell me this name. I'm like, I'm going to need to see a player's card. Like I cannot guess that one. I am so sorry for this extra step. But the players if they have a name that's complicated to spell, a lot of times they'll just like hand me their Caesar's rewards card. Like it has the name completely spelled out. And I'm like, bless you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, you're not the first person that struggled with their name.
Yeah.
I expect. Yeah. All right. Oh, so we talked a little bit about sort of like the challenges. What's the number one thing about your job, specifically as a poker photographer, that you like don't look forward to, or that you feel is like, oh, if only I didn't have to do this, my job would be perfect? What's that one thing?
Probably just sometimes the hours can be a little interesting. Not so much during the summer because we've got it very structured. But sometimes if you're working a tournament, not set hours, but a tournament, like who knows how late it'll go. I've watched heads up matches that maybe could have taken an hour that took 7 hours, and you just it's a lot of just waiting. Shout out to Jungle Man in the PPC 2021. We really had a late one that year, but a lot of times, because of the way that a streaming schedule works or the structure sheet works, we have to get to a certain point in the tournament before we can bag it up and call it a day. And sometimes coolers happen and chops happen, and it just takes a lot longer than anyone could anticipate. And those days are challenging because it's a lot of just like my high school band director used to say, like, hurry up and wait. Like you can't go anywhere, but you're also not really doing anything.
Right.
So those times can be challenging. And usually if there is a photo that I have to get at the end of one of these long stretches that is already hard for everyone involved, the player's exhausted. Like they are not interested in staying. One moment I had of this the first year, I think it was the first year that we were fully at Horseshoe. It may have been the next year. I was taking photos of the main event final table when they reached it. If you don't know, for the main event, there's actually a media day. So they get to the final table and then they have a day off of playing where they all come in for interviews and photos and videos and things like that. So we had to get to a final table because the next day was the media day. And it was just taking a long time. And we ended up reaching the final table at like 7 a.m.
Oh God.
In the main event. I mean, it's brutal. Like the whole crew is here, like, live streaming on Poker Go and recording. And there's, we're all exhausted and the players are exhausted and they're playing for millions of dollars. So like they are mentally and physically drained. And I went to take these photos and I had one player who was like, I'm not about it. I had him for like 3 photos. I waited for like 6 hours to get like 3 photos, and he was like, I'm done. And I was like, okay. So that could be challenging, those really late nights, because when we reach that point, people also don't want to be photographed.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, last chance for our YouTube chatters. Put your questions in for Rachel. We're getting near the end of the interview portion here. It's been a pleasure so far. So let's talk. Oh God, like, can you imagine bubbling the final table of the main event at like 6:30 in the morning? Because like, oh yeah, that just sounds like what a
Pretty brutal.
terrible. Yeah. Oh God, what a way to do it. Joseph, you unmuted. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, to be fair to Brian, I have to ask you this question because I asked it at the very end of it. It was my philosophical question when I interviewed him. So you guys are newlyweds, or at least you were newlyweds at the time that I was interviewing Brian. And what I asked him about was what he had said was that you kind of just decided. It was like you were just going to travel and kind of do this and took off. And you're sitting in a hotel room right now, and you're going to be in another hotel room, and you really don't have roots anyplace. Do you see yourself in 10, 15 years staying on that same route of traveling around, or are you planning something different? Is there an end game to this?
Yeah, we're already starting to talk about slowing down some of the travel. We love it. We've been pretty open about it on Twitter, but we're actually trying to buy a house in Vegas right now.
Oh, cool.
And then we're gonna take a few months off of the grind. I just to do some other personal goal things. Mostly I want to take a pottery class. It sounds very silly, but I would like to, and I'm going to. But we want to buy a house here and take a few months to kind of settle in before we pick back up on travel. So we do love Vegas. We miss being in Vegas. And we know we want to have our own space again, as luxurious as these hotel rooms are. It's nice to have a kitchen and a separate room to do other things in. It's nice to go outside. Sometimes I forget to do that. And yeah, we'll be excited to be back in Vegas, especially because so much of my work during the year is here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's take it back to sort of, you were talking about the player experience at the end of the night and sort of being a little like bewildered and confused and maybe quite tired.
Yeah.
Can you give me like an example of someone of like, you know, that most out of it you've ever seen someone in that spot, or like a funny story about someone like just totally zombieing at that point?
Yeah. I have a couple, but there's one bracelet winner that really sticks out in my mind. Like the second you said that, I don't know if a lot of you know Cole Ferraro. He's a bracelet winner. He's so young. I think he's only like 25 now, and this was a couple of years ago that he won. I don't know what the youngest bracelet winner is, but he's got to be very close. But he was playing in this event, and this was a whole moment that conspired. Heads up, pretty empty ballroom. This was still at the Rio, so this must have been 2020. Pretty empty ballroom. There's not a lot going on. Pretty tame rail, and he is making a call for the win. This guy had jammed on the river. If Cole calls and he's right, he wins. So it's about, I would say, like a minute and a half of just dead silence, and he's like in the tank. He is thinking so hard, and the cocktail waitress comes up. They had ordered drinks before, and in the middle of this long tank, she's like, "Red Bull, like I have your Red Bull here," and everyone kind of got a good giggle out of it. But then she set it next to him, and he's still in the tank, trying to decide if he wants to make this call. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I was still here or not.
No, it's lagging a little,
so
but the audio's coming through great. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So he makes the call. He finds out that he wins. He stands up, knocks over this drink that this cocktail waitress had just set next to him. And he's like in a tizzy. And he looks at me. This is the first thing he says when he wins his bracelet. He looks at me and says, "Can I call my mom?" And I was like, "Absolutely. You go call your mom." I was like, "You take 5 minutes. We'll be here when you're ready." but just knocked over a drink, made the call, just so out of it, calls his mom. But to ask me, can I call my mom? It was such a funny moment. I was like, yeah, man, give her a call. But there's a lot of moments like that because it is very shocking, especially it's shocking in an all-in situation pre-flop when it runs out and someone wins. But when someone has to really, really, really think and then they make the right call, I think there is even a bigger level of being just like in shock.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, that's a great. We're definitely ending on a high note here. So when you hear that noise, you know it's time. It's time we break out the soundboard here at the Rec Poker Podcast.
Ooh.
We're a highly professional, very polished organization. I don't know if you can tell.
I don't know if that's
Yeah, no, it's a soundboard. It's a soundboard. That's right. We've made it, folks. Chris Jones, you have been taking notes and you're ready to put Rachel in a corner and make her very uncomfortable by making her choose some roles for 3 friends from the poker world.
Yeah, and so
I'm excited.
I've seen the list of names and I'm going off script.
Okay.
Because I like to make this as personal and sort of uncomfortable as possible. I'm going to ask
Perfect.
you about 3 other photographers.
Oh.
So you're going to have to give me one person who you would like to stake, maybe, and you could say sign if you want to take this more in the photography world, like sign one that you would like to study with or kind of mentor with or learn with, and one that you'd either maybe like to stack at the table or just maybe photobomb and ruin their photo. One of those kind of things. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
your names are Drew Amato, Danny Maxwell, and Haley Hochstetler.
Oh man, that's a really good list. Oh man. I have had the luxury for a few years of mentoring with Haley. So starting from here, for study, I would definitely pick Drew. Drew is an incredibly seasoned photographer. One of the best, if not the just standout best in the industry. Everyone knows Drew's photos. He's an incredible person to work with. I have gotten lucky enough to work with him for the WPT now. And he's just so kind and so willing to share the wisdom that he does have. That's one thing that really stands out with a lot of the photographers in the industry. There's not a lot of gatekeeping. It's a lot of just, we're all here for the same goal. So I would say study with Drew. Pick his brain. Okay, and then I have Danny and Haley. Man, geez, that is hard. I would have to say, wait, what are my other 2 options?
So you can stake or sign. I'm kind of like going off, or you can stack or photobomb.
I would photobomb Danny because I think he would think it was funny anyway. Or I would stack him at the poker table because I don't think he plays very much. He's not a big poker player. So I would for sure stake or hire Haley. Haley is a fearless poker player. She is willing to take spots in big spots. And she also is an incredible photographer and one of the hardest workers in the poker industry. I stand by that. I think she's one of the hardest working people on or off felt. So yes, those are my answers.
All right, nice work. Thanks. It's a fun group. I got to meet Danny actually at the Irish Poker Open. Very, very friendly guy. And yeah, that's a good group. That's why Chris is in charge of this segment, even though it's Eric Jin's segment by birth. But Chris he knows how to really twist the knife and make you feel some pain as you get in there. All right, well, we are going to close the action now with our speed round. So Rachel, I've got a bunch of questions. What we're looking for here are short, quick, honest answers, just whatever pops into your mind. And you can always say pass and we'll just move on to the next one. We're just going to hit it and we're going to close the action here with Rachel K. Winter. All right, let's go. We're going to start with an easy one. What is your favorite poker hand?
King 6 suited hearts.
Awesome. Is poker a gamble or a skill game?
It's both, but mostly a gamble for
What's
me.
your biggest nice? What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
Loud gum chewing.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
I've never seen it.
What is with all these people that haven't seen Die Hard? Okay, yeah, good answer. Fair, fair. No wrong answers here. Closing the action. Is Ace King a drawing hand?
Yes.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What about an open face sandwich? Is an open face sandwich a sandwich?
No.
What's one photographer? Who's one photographer that you really admire?
Drew Amato.
What's one thing you're afraid of?
Rattlesnakes.
Should vacations be lazy or busy?
Lazy.
What about a calzone? Is calzone a sandwich?
That's a calzone.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a yellow light coming up. Slow down or speed up?
Speed up.
What about a taco? Is a taco a sandwich?
That's a taco. A hot dog is a taco too, I should add.
Oh, okay. A hot dog is a taco. I like where we're going with this. Who's your poker nemesis?
Oh, I don't play enough poker to have a nemesis, I don't think.
That's okay. It's Phil Razor then.
Maybe Brian.
Nemesis.
Maybe Brian.
Oh yeah,
It
Brian's
might
a good
be,
choice.
yeah, we're pretty brutal with each other when we play together.
Who's your favorite musical artist? Or just one good musical artist that you like? Doesn't have to be your favorite.
Right now I'm really into Noah Kahan.
What about a Pop-Tart? Is a Pop-Tart a sandwich?
No.
That one came from Brian.
It's a calzone.
It's a calzone. All right. Well, that's too good. That's too good a spot not to pick that up there. We've got one more question for you. And this is what I ask all our guests. So you've had this wonderfully exciting life. You've done all these different amazing things. You're set on this fantastic path. But what would you do if someone came up to you with a loaded gun to your head and said, Rachel K. Winter, you have to go back and do one thing differently in your life. You got to go back and change one thing. What's the one thing you would go back and do differently?
I probably would have applied myself a little bit more in like school, college, grad school. I don't know that it necessarily changes the course of my life. I would hope that it wouldn't. But when I look back at all the decisions that I've made, I probably could have made some decisions to maybe help me get life figured out a little sooner.
Great answer. I'm just doing some quick math here. Carry the 4, 916 points. That's really good. You should feel great about that. 916.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well done. All right, now folks, I just want to remind, we're going to say goodbye to Rachel in just a moment here. So if you're interested, you can start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat. We're going to give away a prize in just a few minutes here. The reason that we make you type food bank is because we're trying to raise awareness about the fight against food insecurity. The fact is, it's a difficult time right now for some folks to put food on the table or feed a family member or a loved one. And you never know who needs a little help just putting dinner together. It could be someone in your own neighborhood, someone in your community, someone that you might not expect. And, you know, there might be some stigma out there about folks using food banks. And it's a silly thing to feel bad about. We all need help sometime. And the best way that you can help out your neighbors and the folks in your community is by donating a few dollars from your pocket, a few hours from your week, or a few non-perishable food items from your pantry. And if you just pull out your phone and Google food banks near me, you'll find some great organizations in your area that can benefit from your support. So please do help a local food bank. And in the meantime, all I'm asking you to do is just type the words food bank into the YouTube chat, and we'll give away a fantastic prize to one of our participants just a little later on in the show. Rachel, this has been a pleasure. I knew it would be. We've been trying to get you on here forever. And I'm so glad we finally did. Where can folks find you if they want to get more Rachel K. Winter in their lives, if they want to get more awesome photography? What's the place they should reach out?
Yes, I am on Twitter it's at RachK Photo, so RACHKAY photo. And if you're looking for photography for any kind of event, you could reach out to 8131 Media. They do the vast majority of my booking. So you could reach right out to 8131 or Haley if you're looking to get some photos going from me or anyone on the team. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm most active. I do have an Instagram. It is under RKM_poker photography. I don't really post on there very much, but I do share other people's posts from work that I'm doing. So it's a little bit more up to date in my mentions and my reposts than it is in my actual posts.
Got it. All right, but Twitter is where all the poker degenerates hang
Twitter
out.
is where it is happening.
It's the hellscape, and it's RachK Photo there, and I'll make sure that link is in the show notes as well. Rachel, I hope we get a chance to cross paths down there in person in the next few weeks.
Yes, we'll be here.
Thanks
Well,
again for sharing
I'll
some
go
of these
get
wonderful stories.
I'll get the PB&J ingredients next time I go shopping.
There you go. I love it. Well, you've been a pleasure. I knew you would be. Thank you again, Rachel K. Winter. I can't wait to talk to you again. Thanks so much for coming here on the Rec Poker Podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
What a treat. So Rachel is a very busy photographer. We tried to have her on a few Mondays previous, and it's just tough with that working schedule. But I'm so glad we finally got a chance to share some of her stories with the rest of the poker world. I knew that was going to be a good one. John Somsky, why don't you take us through some recent home game results, and then we will give away a prize and get on out of here.
On June 12th, we had our Mixed Game Championship Series. Our championship series we held once a month, once for mixed games, one for no limit. And then you accrue points throughout the year. And we have a Player of the Year points winner, and that is one way that you can win a bronze medal. And on June 12th, One Jack Black won their very first Mixed Game Championship event. Apple of my eye, Harold Berry maintains the lead, a fairly sizable lead, in the Mixed Game Championship event this year.
Canadian advantage is just, it gets dark earlier up here. So we start studying poker earlier, we get prepared for the home games earlier. It's a geographic advantage. There's nothing you guys can do. I'm sorry. Harold, congratulations in advance.
And we had our TOC event as well. E. Anderson 85, Eric Anderson won his first daily TOC event of the year. This is his second lifetime TOC.
Wow.
So that's a fairly rare thing. Not a lot of people have won more than one. There's a lot of people who haven't won one. So congratulations there.
And a shout out to Eric. Eric is like such an active member here at Rec Poker. And he's been helping me out by capturing some of the final taped play from these for our online review and hang, which unfortunately I won't be able to do this month because I'll be in Las Vegas. But congratulations, Eric, and on the double tournament champions win. I mean, boy, that's very impressive. Very rare company. Congratulations.
And then we have Stewie 13, Stuart Carriage, got his fourth nightly victory for the year. Isma got his or her third nightly victory for the year. Duck and Run 99, Michael Savage got his third international victory for the year. And High Sweet Sweet got his or her very first international victory. And I believe this may have been the first event they ever registered. This was on the 15th, and it was either the 14th or 15th. I added them to the club, so it was definitely one of their very first tournaments that they ever played.
Amazing. Congrats.
And then Mudslinger 1942, Jack Peshtel got his first LPP event for the year. So he can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker. Normally that's where it ends, but not this month. We also had the Heads Up event on June 15th, and Matty Bumpo won his or her very first Heads Up victory. And they will be able to play in Marek Madness come March of 2025.
That's amazing. And way to go to Maddie
That's a
Bumpel. Good
her,
one on
and
that.
she's also a member of Pocket Queens. So we studied together there. So it was really fun playing her heads up. We had a great time.
Oh,
Yeah,
how cool.
her information is private, so I never know. I'm guessing it was just.
I'm sure she doesn't mind.
Okay, I will from now on refer to her as her.
And judging by Maddie Bumpo's win rate, you're going to be mentioning her name quite a bit. I feel like she's come up in the winner's circle like 5 out of the last 6 weeks or something like that. So congratulations.
This is her 5th victory lifetime, her 4th victory this year.
Amazing. That's so impressive.
And she also made it in the top 5 in the ROI from last month.
Yeah,
If you
I think
recall.
we got.
So we've been saying her name quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
So evidently, maybe joining Rec Poker helps your poker game. I don't know, but that's a theory I'm postulating here right now.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
I'm starting to think you're right, John. And I've been hearing from a lot of Rec Poker members who are looking forward to the World Series this year. We're going to get together for some breakfasts in the Horseshoe Basement Food Court. Some folks are like taking their shot for the first time. And I've gotten some really, really great feedback from some folks that have said like they've been active in Rec Poker for the last several months or the last half year, the last year. They've really been working on their game. They're seeing the rewards. They're seeing the fruit of their labor. And it warms my heart to know that we're really helping a lot of these folks like get better at this game that we all love so much. So everyone here on the Wrecking Crew and all you premium members who are contributing to the forums and the strategy sessions and the study groups, pat yourself on the back. You've done a good job, and we are making the recreational poker world a better place. So kudos to all of you. Joe, oh, sorry, John.
I was just gonna jump in there and say some people have been concerned about meeting you in a basement anywhere. And I just wanted to make it clear that this is at the Horseshoe. This is not his basement, so you should be just fine. It's a public place. It's well lit. There's good security there. It's not in Canada, so I'm sure you will be safe.
Any secondary basements do not follow the man in the yellow polo. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's delightful. Thank you both for referencing that ridiculous rumor about my basement. I'll tell everyone again, it's ideal for storage. There's a lot of easily wipeable surfaces and floor drains, anchor points, all the stuff you need for storage. And I don't know why everyone thinks it's such this weird little place that just because no human has ever left alive, like, come on, there's a lot of good reasons for that. But yes, in all seriousness, I have it on very good authority that hardly anyone is ever tortured or murdered in the Horseshoe food court, even though it happens to be in a basement where I will also be myself. So please do come, and we'll have some fun there before we get into some of this WSOP action. All right, gang, we gotta save me. Let's roll on out of here. Is there anything else that we need to mention to anybody else? Well, I don't see a single person saying food bank, so we're not going to call for more food bank. That's it. If one person had showed up tonight and entered the word food bank in the YouTube chat, they would have won an amazing prize, a free month at one of our fantastic learning partners. So if you're listening at home, it's not like it's too late this week, but get on in here into the YouTube. You would have had a 100% chance of winning a great prize just for showing up live and typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat. I don't see any here. Sorry, gang, you missed out this week. Try again next week. Maybe you'll have a little better luck. All right. Well, I have to thank Rachel K. Winter. Hold on. Wait a second. Rob Washington's got something to say.
Poker Coaching has a great sale going on right now. Today is the last day.
Yes.
Jump in, go to our website, go to our affiliate site, and click on Poker Coaching for a great discount. Also, we are partnering with 100K Studios on a thing called WSO Rec Poker. So World Series of Rec Poker. Now, last week we had 18 people. We can do much better than that, guys. Come on. join us it's on Poker Go. It's free. Join us. It's a lot of fun. So we're going to be doing it through the month of June. So join up. There's prizes for the winners. Just come and join us. It's a lot of fun.
Great
Now,
point, Rob.
You said Poker Go. I believe you meant
Poker Now. Poker Now. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yes, I meant Poker Now.
Poker Now, fantastic free poker playing platform where you can share video and audio with your friends. And all the information is at rec.poker/W. Why do I screw this up every time? WSORP. And if you, it's at 3:00 Eastern on Sundays between now and the main event will be on July 14th. So on every Sunday between now and July 14th at 3:00 Eastern, you can play for free. And I think the top prize, you get 6 months of premium membership and 2 hours of coaching from Rob Gardner himself. So I would say go check that out. And we've got other prizes for other events. So do get into the fun. And Rob, am I seeing this correctly? Did you win the last event on Sunday?
Oh, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yes, I may have. Someone told me that there was a PB&J sandwich coming to me from Canada for winning. And I think his name was Joe. I'm not sure. Joe Cool, something like that.
Something like that.
Mentioned something
like
about that. So I don't know if it's true or not, or if I have to go down in the basement to get it. I'm really concerned about that. In the meantime, I'll just make my own PB&J here at home and enjoy it.
I think that's wise.
I don't think I was offering any PBJ sandwiches. That's
No, I saw that on Discord though.
Yeah.
That's right. No, Rob, I'll make sure to hand deliver that PBJ on. I hope you can join us on June 22nd at Joe Will's Poker Oasis meetup game, and if not, another day soon down there. Special delivery. I won't make you come down.
Well, I also want to make it clear, while there is a lot of talk about PB&J, Rec Poker is an inclusive community. All sandwiches are welcome. Even non-sandwiches are welcome. And hot dogs are welcome, whether or not they are sandwiches, tacos, anything you want. It's all good.
You're saying both hot dogs and tacos are allowed? That's awful.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to have them all at the same time. But I'm saying, whatever your refreshment of choice is, you are welcome to have that at any time and still be a member of Rec.Poker.
It's true. We don't discriminate the way that you layer carbs and protein. However you do it, we're here for you. All right, Chris, I tried really hard to roll us out of here a few minutes ago. Let's do it. I see the look on your face. Rachel K. Winter, such a fantastic guest. Thank her so much. Thanks to all the YouTube chatters. This was super fun tonight. Rob Washam, Kim Kilroy, Joe Coolis, John Somsky, Chris Jones. You guys are the best. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for you listening at home. We couldn't do it without you. So see you next week on the Rec Poker Podcast.